Going through right now to talk about this is epidemiologist and University of Ottawa Associate Professor Dr. Raywat Deonandan. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. It's good to hear from you. I was chuckling at your tweet this morning about the Questioning COVID group, how it reminded you of teaching evolution back in Catholic school. I chuckled on that, and I do have some questions for you regarding that. But first I want to talk Halloween. I'll just ask you, how risky is trick-or-treating for kids this year?
I don't think it's that risky, but it does have some risk. I mean, someone had commented to me, large numbers of the least disciplined human beings running back and forth in crowds to every address in the neighborhood can't be good in a pandemic, right? We have to remember, though, that the way that you get this disease, for the most part, is from being close to other people for prolonged periods of time. A lot of people are concerned about the touching of candy. I don't think that's a major concern. We call that fomite transmission. It's not really a big deal for this disease as much as you might think. And kids will be wearing masks for the most part. I mean, Halloween masks, which will help. So it's not that big a deal. However, what I will say is, why do we have Halloween? For the most part, I think it's because we want to dress up. We want to be out and about in the neighborhood and see other people wearing masks and to just walk around. We can do most of that without having to run the risk of going to random houses. So you can still have the outing without having to trick-or-treat necessarily. And if you want to trick-or-treat, you can do it safely at a distance. You can throw candy at kids from your house or, set up, bins at the end of your driveway so you can grab what you want and move on. There are ways of making this ultra safe if we want to, and I think you probably should.
I'm picturing a really scary sight of a candy corn cannon or something right now, and how it could go wrong. Is there any likelihood at all, because we're getting mandates that were not in place before, like the mask mandate is a big one, likelihood of making some kind of a mandate canceling Halloween this year? Is that something that could be possible?
It could be possible. It depends on what the community transmission looks where you live. All this depends on how it looks in the community, even opening schools. Right now across the province, things look really good. But we anticipate in the fall the numbers are going to go up. That's just the way that pandemics work. But if they go up above a certain threshold, I would not be surprised if other public health restrictions come into place. But I hope it doesn't happen because people need a little bit of letting off the steam. I'm more concerned about older people, young adults going to Halloween parties, which is something we all enjoy doing at a certain point in our lives. And that's when the danger will step up. The trick-or-treating, not so much. It's the Halloween parties that worry me.
Yeah, that's the super spreader, as some people say. Now, the numbers as they are right now in Ontario, if Halloween was happening this Saturday, would you say we're in a safe spot to go trick-or-treating?
I would, with those caveats that I mentioned. Not necessarily having to go door to door, distance with have people stand 6 feet apart at the doors even, and not mingling with strangers on the street. Stay with your own group.
Yeah. Now, since we are talking about Halloween, let's really quickly talk about masks. No one fighting the masks on Halloween, but I did have the organizer of a group on called Questioning COVID, and this is a group organizing an unmasked shopping trip. Now, here's the thing. I spoke with one woman who had all kinds of lung and heart issues, and it sounded like she would be out of breath very quickly. If a person truly believes they or their child should be exempt from wearing a mask, is there a certain criteria you need to be exempted? Just saying, I don't like wearing a mask is not enough. How do you get exempted?
I have no idea. I suppose a medical note would help, from a licensed medical practitioner.
Okay.
But for such people, there are ways around it. You could wear a face shield, and they make excellent face shields that tuck under your chin that don't have the same constricting claustrophobic effects that are just as effective. So there are technological solutions to these issues, which I suspect are more ideological than they are medical.
Do you think, too, that we're strict enough with enforcing the mask mandate, or should we be handing out more tickets for people who don't comply?
Well, I think right now we're at a stage where people are getting used to it still. So we should allow a little bit of, flexibility as people sort of, get used to having it as part of their regular lifestyle. When the schools open, it gets more important. That's when everyone has to be on board with driving those case numbers as low as possible. And so the heavy hand of the state probably has to enact some sort of authoritarian impulse at that point to make sure that everyone plays ball. Otherwise, the schools might have to be closed. If schools get closed, everything else gets shut down, and we're back where we were back in April or May. That's what we don't want. So that's the price people have to keep in mind. What we're gambling here with is, yes, people's health, but also the opportunity to keep the economy open. Let's not mess that up.
Absolutely. And while we're talking about that, your thoughts, you did say how pandemics work, we are going to see an uptick in the fall. Thoughts on the second wave? I mean, we're seeing an up and down with the numbers in Ontario. Do you think we're going to be headed into that second wave, and is that going to cause more of a lockdown? Just in your opinion, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but
Sure.
your thoughts on that second wave?
Well, mathematically, a second wave is inevitable. That's because this is an infectious disease, and the majority of people are still susceptible to it. However, the size of that second wave does not have to be enormous. This is why public health measures are important. If everyone continues distancing and mask wearing and avoiding large indoor gatherings, then that second wave might even be unnoticeable if we do our jobs correctly, right? You're probably familiar with the hammer and the dance model. We hammered down the caseload as low as possible. Now we dance as that curve comes up and down over time. In the Southern Hemisphere, we've seen that second wave occur. That's our future. And for the most part, in some countries, they've managed to tamp it down so it's not impeding their economy too much. So will we see a second lockdown? I don't think so, because I have faith in Canadians to do the right thing. But I'm an optimist, and I've been proven wrong in the past. So prove me right, people.